Well, ladies and gentlemen, so today we're going to be doing our mutual aspect of Saturn and Mercury. And what happens when Saturn and Mercury are both looking at each other, meaning like Saturn and Mercury are 7 houses apart in astrology. They're 180 degrees apart. They're both looking at each other, meaning like they're across balcony, across the air shaft, and they just look at each other. What does that do? That's what we're going to talk about today. And as always, if you do not know, if you have this mutual aspect, which degree it's happening at, are there very tight degrees? They're both at 15 degrees, or one is at 2 degrees, one is at 28 degrees, all that will matter. And if you want to know all about your astrological, chart, for that, check out the links here. Check out my full astrological report, and including my books, Astrology, Conjunction, and Aspects at the Speed of Light, including all my consultations at this link here. So, Saturn represents dryness, seriousness, laziness, slowness, seriousness, boldness, fearness. There's no word, fearness. Actually, I just invented it. Fearness. It's fear. Okay? Saturn also represents limits. Like you're only restricted and limited by certain things in your life. Saturn represents the working class. Saturn represents servants. It's the administration of the government. All of these things. I mean, I'm pretty sure there are truckload of more things that I can say here. Then Mercury is what? Mercury is your speech. Mercury is your logic. Mercury is your communication style. Mercury is the significator of education. Mercury represents all kinds of communication, media, journalism, magazine, social media. Mercury represents siblings. Mercury is the significator of business, management. So you can see where I'm getting here. When this occurs, what happens is, first of all, you started speaking quite late in your life. And when you spoke, even as a little child, you had this wisdom, this serious wisdom coming out of you. Because when you spoke straight to the point. You didn't fiddle around with sentences or what you want. Maybe you want this, maybe no. It was just straight. I want this. I don't want this. I want to wear this. I don't want to wear this. I like you. I hate you. You're beautiful. You're ugly. Straight speech. No BS in the middle. That's what Saturn is doing to your speech. Saturn gives dryness into, Mercury is a significator of speech. Mercury is a significator of this area. Saturn causes dryness here. These people will have, you'll see them having dry throat. They have a delay in speech when they speak. At the same time, when they communicate, not only the communication is serious and to the point, it can go on for long periods of time. These people can stand there and give a speech for 4-5 hours on a very serious subjects and talking about all the bullet points. But in real life conversation, these people will be very blunt, short speech pattern. They will tell you exactly what needs to be done, what has to be done, what they have done, and that's it. They don't like talking about nonsense stuff, like in a party or, in a social gathering situation, they will either be in the corner, so nobody approaches them. If anybody approaches them, they'll try to make the conversation as short as possible by displaying a dryness in their speech, meaning coldness. Saturn is cold. So when you say, hey, how are you? What's going on? They'll be like, hi, how are you? Boom. That's Saturn influencing Mercury. And remember, this can also happen if Saturn aspects Mercury from his 3rd or 10th aspect. Mutual aspect does other things as well. Okay? Like in this mutual aspect, Mercury is influencing Saturn. It's not just all Saturn doing the job of mutual reception. No, Mercury is doing it too. This is why Saturn is able to talk. This is why Saturn is able to communicate. Saturn who does not speak. Saturn who's very dull, dark. So this is why these people do speak. At the same time, Mercury's curious nature makes Saturn research on things to the depth and research for a long time. So Mercury is giving his curiosity to Saturn that, hey, I'm curious about this information. So imagine this is Saturn, the light of Mercury is coming inside it and doing something. It's like magic of Mercury upon Saturn, and Saturn like, whoa, okay. I need to know about how this part of the DNA works. Now, according to me, I'm a very slow moving person. So I will take a long, sweet time and detailed time looking at this research. I'll take 6-7 years just for this part. If Mercury or Saturn influence wasn't there on Mercury, Mercury would quickly do it. But if Mercury influence wasn't there on Saturn, Saturn would not be curious about things. It is Mercury that makes us curious about wanting to understand things. You know, like how a child says, why? How does this, or what is this? What is that? That curiosity is that Mercury. These guys are very good in logical thinking, analytical thinking. They are very good at making very practical decisions in life. When decision needs to be made, they will sit back. They will not give you a decision right away. They will sit back, they will ponder over it, they will look at it, they will calculate it, they will analyze it, and then they'll be like, okay, I will do this. So you know those people who go to furniture stores? I was just watching this show on Bravo. I forgot. I think it's called Flipping Out. How Jeff Lewis kind of gets frustrated when people are taking 2 hours to select one chair when he's like, I already know what's going on. That's the kind of person you become. When you go somewhere, you need to take time in order to decide something. This is why Mercury represents stock market. You have to make split-second decision. And that split-second decision can either make you a millionaire or put you out in the streets. Saturn with it will be like, well, should I do it? Should I invest? Should I not? Should I invest? And then you'll invest like in 4 days when stock is already too high or too low. But what happens is the discipline comes into play. You know how Mercury is like a bunny, just hopping one place to the other. Saturn kind of gives it the energy of a turtle. So just imagine a very old bunny slowly going, slowly smelling the roses. So when it comes to their curiosity, they don't have too many curiosities. They don't have too many interests. They actually lack interest. But when an interest comes into play, when that perfect flower is seen, they smell it. But then they smell it for a long time. So this is why these are the people who stick to certain tasks at one time. Not just doing 4, 5, 10 different things at a time. It's just they'll either be making wrong decisions or they'll be frustrated because, hey, it's not perfect. See, what Saturn is doing, Saturn is perfecting the energy of Mercury. Because if you really look at it, Saturn is influencing Mercury more than Mercury is influencing Saturn because of the size. This is Saturn, right there, that's Saturn, and that's Mercury. Perfect! I think that's why I had the Saturn in my studio background. This is Mercury and that's Saturn. Who do you think will have more energy to influence? This is why you naturally see other astrologers, whenever they talk about small planets compared to large planet, they'll throw information of the large planet upon the other. Well, Jupiter conjunct Moon, your things is expanding, you are this, you're feeling positive. What is Moon doing to Jupiter? Have you ever thought of that? Because Moon has a very little reception to it. Moon is being bombarded with this giant energy of Jupiter that Moon can hardly pass anything to Jupiter. But it does pass it. Same way in this mutual aspect. Saturn is throwing his qualities on Mercury more than Mercury is throwing his qualities on Saturn. Okay? And you will notice these people, when they make bosses, managers, very strict, not enthusiastic, not very fun. Especially, and you got to remember with mutual aspect, sign matters. What I'm telling you here is simply 50% of the information. The other 50% of the information can be seen to see which planet is in which sign. Is one planet debilitated? Is one planet exalted? What houses these planets are ruling? Because their energies of those houses will be funneling back and forth between each other. So that is very, very important to understand about this mutual aspect. Okay? So guys, this was my mutual aspect of Saturn and Mercury. If you're new to my channel, subscribe below. And again, if you want to know where your Saturn is placed, where your Mercury is, all your planetary placements, my books and consultations, for that, check out the links here. Otherwise, we'll see you tomorrow. All right? Bye-bye.